Despite widespread recognition in Europe, the Mecanoo design firm is just beginning to build a reputation across the pond. In this episode, we'll hear from founder Francine Houben about their approach to design on 3 iconic projects.
Today I'll be speaking with Francine Houben from Mecanoo Architects. When you sort of look at a place and have a brief for a project, for example, the Library of Birmingham, how do you kind of go about creating a new place there that will be, this building that eventually people will inhabit?
For me, Birmingham, for instance, I had never been in Birmingham. So I started to walk around in the city, try to understand the complexity of the city, understand also even the history of the city, because Birmingham used to be one of the most important industrial cities in the industrial period.
Sure.
So I tried to understand these flows of people, but also look at the people. For instance, it's also the city that has a big tradition in jewelry. So it's very much, jewelry is very much about decoration. I'm looking at the light. So what the end, I can tell a whole story about how we did design the library.
Sure.
But in a way, it starts in a very combination of, I always say, combination of intuition and rationality and analysis. Intuition and analysis, or emotion and rationality. So at the same time, I know a lot about libraries, so I know how to solve things.
Yeah.
So if you know that, there's a lot of space for intuition and emotion by observing the city.
Sure.
And in a way, that's how, at the end, how we did this building that I think is a great library and so much appreciated by the local people.
Sure. So I imagine, though, that the Martin Luther King Library and the New York Public Library are a little bit different, given that they're sort of renovations and you're not sort of starting from scratch.
Yeah.
So how did that kind of change the way that you worked?
The Martin Luther King Library, what is in a building of Mies van der Rohe. You imagine, I always said, here's Mies van der Rohe watching me, and here's Martin Luther King watching what I'm doing.
Right.
The strange thing with this building in Washington was that you think it's a very transparent building, but it was totally not. So it was full of people. The building was opened in 1972. And I've been talking to people who have been in that building for more than 30 years working without daylight, because there's an enormous amount of brick walls.
Sure.
The strange thing is that the books have daylight and the people have no daylight.
How did you sort of begin to get light into sort of the space and solve some of these problems and sort of balance all these different values, your values, the Miesian values?
We took away, there is in the middle of that building is a span-free volume, but it was full of bricks, so we take all the bricks away, so it's really like he thought of it in his typology, he has several typology. That's a span-free space, so people can also experience that.
So you created a new central sort of sense of place in that, out of that clearing away of some of the bricks. So certainly on kind of the opposite end of the spectrum, you have the New York City Public Library done by Carrere and Hastings, classic Beaux-Arts, sort of building.
Yeah.
How did you approach that, and was it sort of a similar kind of, I'm going to bring my values and couple it with sort of the original values of the building, or were there any unique opportunities you saw? And
first of all, I said you should a Beaux-Arts building has a certain logic, and that's also how you experience that in almost like wayfinding, and how natural light is part of that. And the way the building changed the last 100 years, step by step, a lot happened in the 80s and the 60s and in the 90s, made the building very unlogic. Also, what is a big problem in that building? Also, because you have a street level, there is a bel étage level, and then there is what I call balcony level, and then there is the corniche level. And the corniche level, of course, because of the decoration, has no windows, but the light came from above, from the roof. But that all the daylight from the roof was blocked by air conditioning installations. So it's also kind of being analytical, also look at the same time to the flow of people. What is logic? Where are the researchers? What is a lot of tourists and visitors? What are the library users? Where's the daylight? Where can I bring back the daylight? What is the position of the stairs? So it's anyway, it's a lot of work where you are rather modest. It's a lot of work, I can tell you. It's a big puzzle. But also you're not promoting yourself. You're almost promoting the existing building and also career in Hastings. So I think they will also be very happy.
Well, excellent. Well, thank you, Francine, so much for speaking with us today. It was really very interesting to me, and I think very interesting to our audience. So thank you.
Thank you for inviting me.
Click to subscribe and see more at builtworlds.com.